Hi everyone. I spent a good amount of time creating the AutoUi package for GameMaker, and I thought it would be a good idea to kind of showcase what it is, what it can do, and how to best utilize it in your projects. I'm going to go through each element and briefly show some of the functionality built right in. So we're going to start off by just creating an object. I'll name it object for now. And we need a create event, a step event, and a draw GUI event. So every single element in AutoUI needs what's called a flex container. So I'm going to make a flex. I'm going to go new AutoUI flex container. Now this takes two forced parameters and two optional parameters. Anytime you see a parameter with this AUI, that generally means that there is a correlating enum that's made from the library. So for instance, this is AUI direction. So we're going to type in AUI direction and we're going to choose from horizontal or vertical. Let's make a vertical one. And then for the size, because it's a flex container, this means that all of the elements are going to stack vertically, and it's going to basically build the flex container as you add elements to it. So we have to set the width of the flex container because that will not be stacking that direction. So let's just put it to 600. Now spacing is a value of the space between each elements. So for now, we'll just go 10, I guess. And again, AUI anchor is another AUI draw anchor. Now, this allows you to draw the flex container from an anchor point. So I'm going to select top left, and we'll kind of get into this later. So now we have to go flex.step. Let's just put 0, 0 because we want to draw this at the top left of our game, essentially. And then the draw GUI is just going to do flex.draw. So you've got your flex container here, the step and the X and Y position that you want to draw it at, and the draw. So now when we run this, nothing's going to happen because we haven't added anything to the flex container. So let's do that. So let's just go label equals new AutoUI label. Now this takes a few parameters. Let's just go, this is my label, this is the text. I've added just some basic, Arial fonts just to make this easy. Now you can force wrap width. So I could put something like 100 here, and it would wrap the string to that width. But the great thing about these flex containers is that you don't have to do that because it does it automatically for you. So let's make this a bit longer. This is my label, and I like it. So now all we're going to do is we're going to go flex, add element, label. So now when we run this, oh, hi. One thing I forgot to do is you got to drag the object into the game. Okay, so now when I run it, there's the label. Okay, so obviously this could have been done with way less lines manually. So let's kind of see what this is doing. The flex container has a lot of unique methods, as you can kind of see. What we're going to do is we're going to set a 9 slice. And this takes a sprite and a frame. So I've got this handy dandy 9 slice. It's very simple. I'm not going to give it a frame. It's just going to be 0 defaulted. So now you can kind of see what this flex container is doing, right? So you can see the start of it, and you can see the width of it. So if I change this to like 200, all of a sudden it automatically wraps. Now the separation is wrong because obviously the separation is going to change for every font you pick. So that's as easy as just going set, is this set separation? Set text separation. So I don't know, something like 20. And that'll change that. And it also adjusts, as you'll see, all the other elements. So let's go ahead and add another label. Second label, AutoUI label. I don't know, let's put something like this. And let's maybe give this a color. Let's give it sea yellow or something, I don't know. Now, instead of adding an element, we're going to add elements. And this takes an array, so we can just go label second. There you go. So now you can see the box is kind of expanded based on both labels. And the same, if we decide, oh, I want this to be way smaller, it expands correctly. and it resizes correctly. Now, if I wanted to do something like, let's make this 300, but I want to add some padding. So you can add like 50 pixels of padding on each side, and all of a sudden you have all this padding, or maybe I don't want any on the left, I only want like 10. So obviously you can see how powerful this is to kind of very, very easily restructure your user interface. So let's get rid of that. We'll keep this here just so we can see it. Now, because we're doing a vertical flex container, what we can do is go, why don't we set the horizontal alignment? And this takes an AUI H-align. So AUI, horizontal alignment, and let's set it to right. So now this will be drawn over to the right. And you can also just change this to center, and it'll be drawn in the center. So again, very easy to kind of change stuff, adjust stuff. And so all of these have a lot more functionality than just that. Let's say we want this label to typewrite. Well, let's just set it to typewrite. And there it goes. Very simple. What if I want this one to? Same thing. It goes a little fast. So let's change some of the parameters. We can go true, we want it to typewrite, and frames per character. Let's go 1 frame per character. Actually, let's go something slower so you can see this one. Let's go 4 frames per character. So now you can see that it takes a little longer. I'll show again. And then you can also, an optional, put characters per step. So if this isn't, if you've got, for instance, like this, and you want it to do all of this text, and it's like, I want it to be faster, you can just set it to like maybe 2 characters per step, and you see it'll draw it faster. So anyway, so typewriting, super simple. Let's go back to what I had here. So let's add a button, but the button's just going to be a label. Let's just say button. And let's make it a big font. And let's add button here. Okay, button. Obviously nothing's happening. So what am I going to do here? Okay, so let's make this button clickable. So 2 things we have to do. Button.hoverType equals AUI hoverType. Now, it's always set to disabled because otherwise, if you have all your UI elements with, hover information, it's going to probably slog your game a little bit. So let's go to Draw GUI because that's what we're drawing here. We're drawing on the GUI layer. So it's going to check your mouse position based on the GUI. And now we can do on hovering func. And we're going to set this to a function that sets the color to red. And then we're going to copy that and go on cancel hovering function. And we're going to set it to see white. And that's it. So now you can see that when I mouse over it, it does that. So you can also set this to have its own 9-slice background. What am I doing? 9-slice. And optional horizontal and vertical padding. So let's just see without this at all, because it defaults a little bit. But if I wanted like 50 pixels of horizontal padding, you've got that. So now I've just made a button, right? Clicking it doesn't do anything. So there's 2 ways we can do this. You can do on click function and set this to a function to do something like, show debug message, yay. And then I click that, there's yay. You can also, if you wanted to, remember, because we've created all these in the create event, you could go button.isHovering and mouse, check button press, mouse left. Then you could just have your click function in here if you wanted to. I will say the benefit of this is, of doing it this way, you have access to everything here. When you set it to this, for instance, like let's say I wanted to go, I want to change the second label, this thing, dot set text to whatever. Let's just go XP 100 of 1. Like that. This should give you an error, I believe. Yeah, because it's not in the scope of the actual constructor. And I won't go too far into this. I have added a method for handling this. What you can do is there is a variable in every element called user values. And this is just a struct, which is, one of these. And you can set any value you want to anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go second. Actually, let's do this second label just so you know it's not the same thing. And we're going to set it to this second. So now, instead of calling second.setText, I'm going to go user values dot second label dot sec. Sorry, not dot second. Dot set text. So we're basically calling this. We're storing this object in a value. We're using that value to then set the text. So now, when you click this, XP equals 100. So again, up to you how you want to handle that. I'm going to get rid of the button there. Okay, so let's maybe look at an image. So let's just go image equals new AutoUi image. So this takes a sprite. I've got this crappy coin I've made here and an initial index. You can change the initial index if you want. Let's just go ahead and add it. See what happens. So there it is. So again, everything is kind of generally defaulted to the left side of the flex container. So if you wanted like set H alignment to AUI horizontal alignment right, that'll pop it over there. What is nice about the images, and you can turn this off if you want. I can't remember how, but if you look at this image, if we go to sprites and coin, it's right now the origin point's in the center. Let's say my origin point is all the way over here. Still is exactly where we want it to be. It has the correct spacing, the correct padding, and everything. So there's a lot of computation that's done, not a lot, but enough to kind of offset that position so that you don't have to kind of concern yourself with that. Now, let's say that's not where I want it to be. What if I want it to be like just a little further to the right? I don't know why. Every element also has a set offset. So you can go like, 50, 0. So now this is just going to draw this 50 pixels to the right of its original position. So that's kind of, the image in a nutshell. I mean, there's a lot of other things you can do with it. I'm not going to go into like the heavy details. So let's go ahead and let's remove all of this actually. And let's look at the checkboxes. AutoUI, new AutoUI checkbox. So this takes a sprite. So again, I've kind of created this checkbox, and I'll explain what this is. Let's go check me, and then set a font for the text. Now, when I go checkbox and run this, that's cool. Oh, hi, I deleted the flex. There we go. There we go. So here we got our checkbox, right? Works great. Why does it work great? So the checkbox has basically 6 frames, and they're detailed in the documentation of what these are, but this is basically checked, unhovered, unchecked, unhovered, checked, hovered, unchecked, unhovered, and then clicked, hovered, and clicked, unhovered. So, that's why you get this like little splash of green every time you click it. I don't know if you can see that. You can also go checkbox set text to right. This will set the text on the right side, so you can kind of swap that. Super easy. Let's look at the radio box, because it is basically the exact same thing. And if you look, it's going to take the exact same parameters, except there's an optional one right here. I'm going to set this to R, and let's go ahead and create this. So let's go R equals new AutoUI radio group. Now you don't have to do anything with this radio group except put it in. So if I did like, let's create 2 more radio buttons. Let's just, I think I can use numbers. So let's do this. Let's go A, B, C, and let's set A to checked. So this one. We're not going to do this anymore, and we're going to go radio, radio 2, radio 3. Okay, so that's all we've done. We've created this radio group. We have the radio button, which is, again, same as a checkbox. The functionality is slightly different, but once I load this, you'll see. Setting it to checked, and then just adding 2 more radio buttons. And I'm setting the radio group optional parameter to this radio group here. What that means is anytime you click one of these, it's just going to cycle between them. So you can kind of create your own tabs, your own radio groups, your own menu functionality with that. And it's all built in as it is. Okay, so let's look at something a bit more simple here. I'm going to go rectangle, and is it rectangle? I think it's rectangle. So, okay, my original intention with this was it was meant to be a divider. So if you, like for instance, if you had a label, and you added label and rect, let's not even do anything. So that you've got your like little divider. But this can also, have more functionality to it. You can make this 40. Make it, actually, let's try making it 40. Let's see what this does. Okay, so that's there. Let's make it C gray and make the alpha like 0.2. Cool. So that looks good. But another handy feature is, what if I want these overlapping? What if I want this to be like a selector for this? There's a couple ways you can do it. I'm going to basically just set ignore size of the label to true. And what this is going to do is make it so when you build it, the flex container ignores the size of the label. Now, obviously, it's not perfectly centered. So this is another thing where like set offset to like, I don't know, 8 or something would be a nice little, I can go like, if you want perfectly, you can set the offset and do things like set indent to like 40 pixels, and this will indent the text a little. So now you've got like start game, you know what I mean? You can add all of the mouse click functionality to rectangles. So you can go hover type equals AUI hover type and all that stuff. Let's do that actually. Rectangle hover function equals function. Let's set the alpha. I think I could just set this to 0.5. And then on cancel, let's set it to back to 0.2. Yeah. So you've got a little like button there. It's probably too much, but you kind of get the idea. So that's what rectangles can do. Let's go ahead and look at lifebars. Let's just say we've got HP here, right? And then new AutoUi Lifebar. So this you do have to set the width and height. So let's set this to, I don't know, 300 and like 30. So we need a 9 slice. I'm going to use S9 slice because it's easy. And then the bar 9 slice. So this is like the actual, let's go red HP, right? So minimum value, we're going to set to 0. Actually, the minimum value, these are optional. This is 0, 100, and I think initial is set to the max value. So let's just leave it there. And then let's add it. See what this looks like. Cool. It didn't add label. Oh, because ignore size. Let's get rid of all that. Cool. So now you've got your HP bar. So like, let's go. This is just to kind of show you, what it's capable of. So let's set this to the hover type hovering function. Let's set the value to irandom. Let me see what this is. Max value. Actually, let's make this the onClick function. So now it's just like randomly, jutting out. And I don't know if you can see it. It's actually not just snapping, it's lerping. So we can also change that. We can go set tween. So this takes an AUI tween type, so we can go AUI tween type. So these are obviously all of the easings that you can use. We'll stick with actually let's do something fun. Let's do like ease in quad. Why not? And then the speed. I think if we do like 0.1, this will go a little slower. So let's try that. Yeah. So now I've also added this secondary feature. So you can do a secondary bar. So I'm going to add this 9 slice here, orange at HP. Now this takes an index, so let's set it to 0. And then it also takes a delay in seconds. I'm going to leave it as 1. I think it's defaulted to 1. So now watch what happens when I click this. So it shows you how much value you take. Now that feels a little long. Let's maybe set the secondary bar to like 0.3 or something. That's too short. You know, you play with it, you can find your, but all of a sudden, let's take this tween out because it was a bit better before. You can see the damage you're dealing. And you got a few bars of a really easy health bar. And again, if you wanted to make this wider, you change one number. Everything stays the same. You can get the value from it by just going get value. So if you wanted to do like show message, actually let's do this on here. So now I'm just going to set the value. Oh, I'm going to crash apparently. Maybe this needs to be a string. Oh, I don't need LB, that's why. 68. So now I just set it to 68. So obviously you can change all of these values all you want. Okay, but let's look at a segmented lifebar. So this is kind of, let's delete all this. Kind of the same concept, except it's going to be in segments instead of a 9 slice. So we need to set the direction. Let's set it to horizontal. The BG 9 slice, I'm just going to set this to 9 slice, a segment sprite. So I've got this, handy little sprite there that I've made. Let's say like 15 max sprite segments, right? So let's add this. So now you can see it's all of these segments, but I want them spaced out of it. So you can kind of add like a little spacing. So there you go. You can go as crazy as you want with this. And so that might be too much. Same thing. So let's just set the value to like, 5 right from the get-go. This has a, I think what this is doing, sorry, I built this a while ago. Yeah, it has a second frame that it will use for empty. So the first frame is always the filled frame, and then the second frame is the empty frame. Okay, couple elements left. Let's just quickly go over the slider. So the slider is going to take, again, direction. Let's make it horizontal. Size, again, 500. And so with the slider, the size is actually, if you set this to horizontal, it is the horizontal width of the thing. The height is just going to be the max height of the sprites that you put in. Let's go 0 to 10. Handle sprite. Let's put it to scroll handle, and set this to scroll bar horizontal. We're going to increment by 1. I think it's defaulted anyway, but let's go slider. Okay, so now we've got our slider. Full mouse functionality and everything. You can click. And as you can kind of see, it's also snapping to 1. So if you wanted this to be 100 and snap to 1, it'll be much smoother, obviously. Or you could snap it to 10. And it'll have kind of the same snap effect. So same thing, could change this to vertical if you wanted to, and now you've got your vertical slider. The next kind of big thing that I'm going to get into is the scroll bar. I call it a scroller, so AutoUi scroller. This pretty much takes a width and a height. So if we just set it to like 500 by 500, so what you have to do with the scroller is you have to put it in a flex container, A, so we're going to put it in flex, but you also have to, oops, let's put scroller, not scholar. You also have to set the flex container. So I'm going to call this scroll flex. So what does this mean? So if I run this, obviously it's just going to crash because this isn't a real thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to go scroll flex equals new AutoUi flex container. And let's set it to scroll vertically. And this is 500. So let's make this like, I don't know, maybe 450. I'll explain why I'm doing that later. You don't have to set, you can set the spacing, but you don't have to set the draw anchor. That's going to be handled within the flex container. I don't know why that says that. It's probably some feathering issue. Okay, so obviously it doesn't do anything because there's nothing in this scroll flex. So let's add something. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create a function called item. And let's, just for simplicity's sake, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new label. And the text is just going to be random number, right? And then the font will be, let's make it something big. And then you're just going to return it, L. Now, obviously, the reason I would really do this, H alignment, is if I did have a lot of, if I did have like a lot of steps here where I'm like, okay, and I also want to set indent, set indent to like 40, and then L.color equals C red. Let's just, I don't know, choose C white or C red, right? And then you return L. So this is a really good way if you're kind of making your own components, you can create a flex container, add a bunch of stuff to it, and return the flex container. And then all you'll ever need to do is go scroll flex. Oh, sorry. No, that's right. Add elements, and then you can literally just go item, you know, whatever. Okay, let's do 9. So now, in theory, I run this after I fix it. So you've got that. So obviously it's not scrolling because we didn't add enough items. Let's add more items. Cool. So now you've got your scroll bar. And again, all these are clickable. All of that is the same. You can also go as far as setting the 9 slice background for, what did I miss? Index. Oh, I don't know why that's forced. So you can kind of see where the outlines are. You could also make this like a solid color if you want, you know, just make a 9 slice of a solid color. And then you've got your whole scroll bar there. And remember, it's not all the way over to the right because we set the width to this. Now I could set this to 500. What did I? Yeah, 500. So as you can see, you can pretty much add anything you want to this scroller, and it'll scroll. So you can create your own kind of widgets if you want. And that was kind of the whole point of AutoUI is you're meant to be able to create this as simple as possible. And if you ever want to change like one little element, you don't have to go through and resize everything, recalculate everything. So for instance, if I wanted to draw this, you know, I'm just going to put it at 400 by 400. I'm like, oh, but then now it's off the screen. I actually want it drawn from the bottom left origin point. You can just change that. Set the, where is it? Set this to bot left. And then there's, I mean, it's too tall now, but you kind of get the idea. Like it's, oh, sorry, that's bot left. Or you could just do, let's go mid right. No, mid center. That should work. Yeah, yeah. You know, and so like this position is constantly anchoring this. And last but not least, probably the least useful and the thing that took me the longest was the text editor. I don't know why I did this. It just sounded cool. Maybe somebody can find some use for it. But you know what it is actually quite good with? And it's what I do in a lot of my games that I kind of develop. Let's get rid of all this. This is a lot of bloat. So we're just going to add the text edit here. So, you know, you got full-fledged text editor. You can select select all, things like that. It has a focus. It has a helper text. But what I use this for a lot is just like debug commands. So I can go, you know, if text edit has is focused, and we'll just do like a keyboard check pressed, enter. So then literally I would just make a switch statement of text edit dot get text. So if it was like, I don't know, /r game restart. I do this all the time just for easy restarts. Don't really need break, but you kind of get the idea. So now you can go /r. Oh, sorry. That's one thing I forgot to mention. The text edit by nature only allows characters. So if you want to allow characters, you can do like, I want to add /, right? So I think this should now work. Yeah, /r. You do that, it hangs up for some reason. I don't know why. Oh, I see what's happening. Actually, what I need to do is put this up here. If this works, yeah, okay. So what's happening is when you press enter, if I do this, I press enter, it removes the focus. So I'm just putting it before the step event. So it runs that after it checks this enter press. And again, all of this code is, none of it is, it might look confusing when you go through it, but it's all there. You can edit it however you want. You know, you can build your own elements that kind of work with it. And I do kind of plan on eventually adding some more elements that either other users want or things that I just need as I kind of continue my game development journey. But hopefully that gives you kind of a good insight as to what this thing is capable of. And thank you so much for watching.